How you doing, everyone, and welcome to Direct Dreadnought, Gundam and more on PS4. And this is the essential guide for rookies. There are many tutorials out there for Gundam Battle Operation 2, and they're pretty good, but they miss some of the finer points, and this video is dedicated to Kato 101, Captain Crank, and Mr. D-Bart, who had some very interesting questions that the tutorials don't really cover. But speaking about tutorials, we do have the little girl in the center of camp here, and these are some fine tutorials to start with when you begin the game, and they're each worth 1000 DP, but this particular one, Tackle and Counter, we will be focusing on later in this guide because it's truly important. There is also my tips guide for space, which I do think you should also watch, as that has some important tips for space combat as opposed to ground combat. But that Tackle and Counter we will be covering later because it will segue into invulnerability and combos in Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation 2, which really isn't covered too well in the game. But we are first going to start this guide with in-camp tips, and as you just saw, I ran to the hangar, and I'll get into how I did that in a minute. But the hangar is very important. You really want one of your mobile suits in here at all times, filling each and every slot. And how do you choose the right mobile suit to enhance? We all want to enhance our favorite mobile suits, but the ones you should really be focusing on are the ones that have complex expansion slots, because that enables you to use better custom parts to enhance your gameplay. Some of these other enhancements are okay. They add 100 to your hull or shield, but they're just not as good as the complex expansion slots. So mobile suits that have the expansion slot lower in the list, so it takes less time to get to it, you want to focus on those first and then work through the 500 to 1000 points to get the expansion slots on your favorite mobile suits if it's not lower on the list. Some of the other expansion slots that are interesting are things like propellant tank or pluses to speed. Those are pretty good. Those are found on raids. You want to get those too, but focus on complex expansion slots and make sure you are constantly researching and enhancing your mobile suits. And you can use mechanic tickets to quicken that pace, but I would only use them in specific circumstances, like if you're going to be away for a few days, don't bother using them. If you're going to sleep, don't bother using them. But if you only have a few hours left and you're not going to be on later on that day or night, go ahead and use them so you can put a new mobile suit in the hangar as soon as possible. So right now we are going to take a look at some of the other things in base camp, and that is probably going to go to the supply depot first. Here's the thing about the supply depot. It's where you exchange your tokens. It's where you buy things. You have the DP exchange center. You have mobile suits, main weapon custom parts. You can call in supply drops with tokens, and of course you have the recycle counter, and this is a really good place if you save your recycle tickets. This is a good place to pick up parts that are ahead of your rank that you cannot obtain until you level up, so it's a good place to pick that up, or to pick up things like markings, patterns, clothing, accessories as well. But I wouldn't focus on that in the beginning. You'll have plenty of time to pick them up later. What you really want to do is get certain weapons that are either too expensive or out of reach because of your current rank. Pick them up, save your recycle tickets so that you can load up your favorite mobile suits or ones you get from supply drops that don't have the right mix of weapons. You can load them up the way you want with superior high-level weaponry. And an important note about this is that you have levels to mobile suits, and even if you get a weapon that is a really high level, you cannot exceed the level of your mobile suit. So if you get a level 4 beam rifle, you can't use it unless you have a level 4 Gundam. So right now we're going to go into the DP area, and I think that's a good time to explain a very critical feature that is not really told to you. A lot of players miss it, is that you have this L2 function. Press that L2 button, you can see what rank that a mobile suit is available to you. So if you see one that you like, that you really want, and you don't know whether you should save up to buy it or spend that DP on things that will help your game out, you should press the L2 button. A lot of people don't know this, and it will tell you what rank or what time you can get this mobile suit. So you know, is it I can't get the mobile suit because I don't have enough DP, or is it out of my reach? And if the mobile suit isn't available for 3, 4, 5, or even more ranks, go ahead, spend your DP on better weapons, better custom parts. Don't worry, you'll get that DP back later when you have better game performance. Now a little bit about levels here. You see I'm scrolling through multiple mobile suits of different levels, and that's because typically your level 1 mobile suit is set at a specific cost and has a certain weapon loadout. When you see that mobile suit in higher tier matches, it's usually because it's a higher level mobile suit and that mobile suit gets better stats, but the cost increase is 50 per level. So if you have a level 1 that costs 200, the level 2 will be 250, the level 3 300. Another thing is you may get certain mobile suits of a certain level from drops, but when you're purchasing them through the supply center, that you have to do level by level. So if you buy a level 1 gym sniper, you have to buy the level 2, you have to buy the level 3. You can't just level them up with experience. You can gain experience to gain ranks to enable you to unlock mobile suits, but you have to save DP to purchase each level of mobile suit. And as I said before in other videos, you really want to be as close as possible to the current point limit of the matches you're going into. If there's a 300 point basic ground match, you want to be around 250, 300. You don't want to be much lower or you're going to be completely outclassed. So when you get these mobile suits, be sure that they're the right level, and when you purchase them, make sure you understand that you have to purchase them multiple times for each level if you want to get the right point value for the games you're playing. Now we're going to go into Haro. You can go into Haro either from base camp or from the supply counter or anywhere really, and this is where you set up your mobile suit. You set up the part slots and you customize, and a lot of people don't know this, but you can press that L2 and get better stats, and also you can put in custom parts. And with custom parts, you really want to match what's going on with your mobile suit. If it has superior firepower, you want to get custom parts that give it more range firepower. If it has superior melee, you want to spend as many slots into melee as possible. Don't try to work against the grain. Play to the advantages of your mobile suit. Some of these are particular and hard to understand. For instance, something that reduces the thruster cooldown time is really good for something that doesn't have evasive maneuvers. Emergency coolant system is really good for something that does have emergency evasion system. And of course, for your support mobile suits that need to turn and aim, acquire new targets, you want to increase the turn radius. So custom parts, take a good look at them and purchase wisely. It's easier at lower tiers to get level 1s. They're pretty cheap, but then you want to start specializing in the parts that will enhance as many mobile suits in your collection as possible and play to those mobile suits' strengths. You want to make raids faster, better at melee. You want to make generals higher firepower, and you want supports to have a little extra protection, a little extra firepower, and a better turn radius. While we're in the base camp, let's mention something that was never told to me. I had to discover it by accident, that you can run around in base camp. You don't have to walk or jog. You can press down on your left joystick, that's the L3 button, and quickly get from one point or the other. And that minimizes the amount of time you're wasting just walking around looking for stuff. If you know where you're going, just go ahead and run right to it, and you can get there faster and not waste so much time in base camp. So right here we're at the clan camp, And I have to plug and mention that there is the Dreadheads clan in Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation 2 for all my subscribers on the channel. If you are a viewer, subscriber, or someone I know from the game of Dreadnought, you can go ahead and unlock the clan capability at a certain rank, and by talking to that bartender right there, and then go to the clan terminal and look for my clan, which is the Dreadheads clan tag Big D, 2 little e's for Direct Dreadnought, of course, and you can request to join the clan, and of course you are more than welcome. So if you go into battle with the clan, it makes a huge difference having someone watch your back, especially someone who's familiar with sci-fi combat in 3 dimensions like almost all Dreadheads I know. This is a huge problem that many players have, something that annoys me and many other players as well. Set up your mobile suit before you go into match. So many matches get canceled because rookies forget that they have the Gundam equipped for ground combat or space combat, and it's a 200-point match. Make sure you take a quick look at what kind of matches are available, what the point costs are, and then go in and set up your ground and your space mobile suit ahead of time. It only takes a couple seconds. It's much quicker than what I'm doing now. I'm just showing you how to do it and what you want as far as having a favorite mobile suit every 50 points, so you don't have to screw around or waste time doing this while the match is about to start. And while we're talking about that, a lot of people don't know this, but you can use the square button to have multiple equipment sets. So even if you have a mobile suit ready for a particular point battle, if you notice that it's going to be particularly close range, you might want to use bazookas. If it's got a little more range, you might want to use beam rifles or conventional rifles. If it's going to be space and medium range, you might want to use machine gun. So you can set up certain builds, even change custom parts for that equipment set, so you are ready to go as soon as you get into a match. You're not holding anyone up. You're not going to get that penalty for canceling a match and pissing people off. You are going to be ready to go. So now let's get into, that was just an evasive maneuver right there. Now let's get into what was really not told to anyone, and that's invulnerability. That is the RAM, and you notice when you tackle someone, you are invulnerable, but it does drain your thrust. That you use with triangle, and we'll get into that in a second. This right here is the counter. When someone comes at you and they're about to hit you, not they have their weapon out, but when they lift their melee weapon to strike you, you press triangle. If you have thrust or available engine power, you can counter. Right now I'm letting this Zaku hit me to show you that my life bar is white right now, meaning I'm invulnerable. You can do this nice trick where you can get up and then tackle away from an enemy. I'm going to show you this again, and be invulnerable for a very long time, but you cannot attack. A lot of people panic. They've been knocked down. Some Dom or some goof is beating on them when they're on the ground, and all they want to do is get up, press the attack button, do something. Don't do that. Calmly get up. Let your mobile suit get up. You're invulnerable and can't be hurt. And when you get up, as soon as you can, just boost or run away. Then use your tackle to continue that invulnerability for upwards of 8, 9, 10 seconds and get away. Make sure you turn around and tackle towards your friends so that you don't get harmed by the enemy and don't get picked off. There's 3 real ways to play this game. You have long range, which is being demonstrated right here with the Gem Sniper 2. Supports are in this class, and you want to keep the maximum distance away from your enemy and use long-range firepower. This is really great for beginners. You can zoom in, and as you see, when you take a knee and use cover or even lie down, you get a 10 to 20% bonus to damage. You're getting a lot extra damage on the target. Of course, these guys are stationary. They're just trainers, but this is a very safe way to play, and you don't have to get into the invulnerability or combo nonsense. But don't be surprised if you get attacked by a raid and get taken down. This right here is your second way, which is a mid-range game player. This is for machine guns and for beam rifles. This is where you have some starting ability and learning of the different combos of the game and being invulnerable and learning to use the cut screens in your favor, but you're keeping a distance, protecting your supports, keeping that mid-range, especially with beam rifles, you want to be optimally about 250 to 300 away, maybe even 400 away from your target. Charge up, and then when you're overheating with your main beam weapon, use your Vulcans or grenades. So this is the kind of style of play for most generals. You want to be in that mid-range, protecting supports, looking to intercept raids, but staying out of the fray. Let's get into jumping. You see you hold down the boost on ground and you jump and you're not getting anywhere. That's because you need to press forward and jump. And if you only boost a little bit, as long as you're pressing forward or backwards, the distance is quite considerable. You see I didn't charge quite as long that time, and I easily cleared the cliff. And when I full charge while pressing forward while charging, you can see that I can almost make it to this other mountain that's very, very considerable. So I see a lot of players jumping straight up and getting nowhere. You have to press a direction when you jump and use it wisely. This right here, I just wanted to show that a lot of players don't know that if you repair right next to your base and it's not destroyed, it will actually repair you roughly twice as fast and get you into battle. It's often worth taking a couple more seconds, 5-6 extra seconds, to zoom back to your base instead of repairing in a random spot on your way back to the base. Unless you're in the enemy territory in the middle of the map, it's just not worth it. You might as well go back to your base and get healed twice as fast if you're going to heal at all. Right here we have the machine gunner build. This is my favorite. I do use the Mobile Suit Gundam melee stun bazooka operation 2 builds. I do use those, but I prefer being a dreadhead, that mid-range brawling where I can still use melee attacks such as back and melee button to knock people down and then capitalize while they're knocked down. But that's really in the realm of raids. And you see this is a raid here, and we're using the bazooka to stun to move in, and you can knock them down by pressing back in melee, or if your mobile suit has the ability to do multiple chain combos, and that's under your skill list, you can hit an opponent multiple times. But a good starter is to stun with a bazooka or a shotgun or a stun weapon, and then press back and attack, hit them for a lot of damage, knock them down, and get invulnerable when you get back up. Right here we have a general use close combat. This is the VD custom goof. You see that if you chain the attacks, each mobile suit has certain abilities. This one, when you press back in melee, can boost in tackle then sword, so you can tackle sword, or you can be neutral. It's hard to do when you're boosting in, but let the joystick for a split second go neutral, and you can actually hit 2 to 3 times with your sword, but it doesn't have as much reach. And of course there's other components to your mobile suit, such as with goofs you have the stun cable. Using the stun cable and the tackle and multiple sword hits and then pressing back and melee, you can do 5, 6, sometimes even more attacks per chain, and it's really, really good. So you see here I'm trying to show you that you can use the bazooka to stun, then you can use the whip to stun, then a tackle to stun, and then you can do a charging attack back and melee with this particular goof and do a tackle stun. I believe that was a 5 or 6 hit combo. So you have to play around with it. Definitely go into practice mode. Take the time to do that. Spend an hour and get to know some of your mobile suits. Some of them have some really exciting maneuvers that are only for them. The powered gym and the goof flight type, they can fly forward, then do kind of like a Mario second jump and fly back to confuse enemies. So if someone's chasing you, you jump up forward and then jump back and get behind them while they overshoot you. The goof VD here, their charge up attack where you press back and melee is to tackle then swing. Most mobile suits do a really, really heavy downward swing where they have a lot of reach and can actually hit 2 to 3 mobile suits at once. Spend some time in practice and get to know your mobile suits as far as these combos, or as far as practicing being knocked down and then tackling in the opposite direction away to get invulnerability for 7-8 seconds. Stay calm when you get knocked down. Okay, as soon as you see your life bar go white, you know that you can't get hurt. You can't get stunned. You can't get damaged. When you are being comboed, be calm, take your licks, and then get up. That's about it for now. I hope these tips helped you out to make your game better. And it's some common tips out there that many other tutorials or the in-game tutorial does not cover, and these are some key things that I hope will improve your game and make sure no one thinks that you are a wet behind the ears rookie. Well, that's it from me for now, and I'll see you soon in Sinley Bay.